Hey, this is Mike Lindsay from Vital MX. We're doing another episode of Rumormill today. If you haven't watched Rumormill before, it's a show we do about things that are being talked about in the pits, agents, mechanics, other industry media people, etc. These things are not official or confirmed, but they're far enough along or have some sense of plausibility that we think they're worth talking about here. Part of today's episode is confirmed. Big chunk of it's Rumormill, so it lands under that category. It's mostly focused on the HRC Honda squad going into 2023 and even into 2024. Some of the rider lineup stuff, like when is Jett Lawrence going 450, when is Hymas turning pro, what's going on with Sexton, Roczen's contract lengths, etc. This was kind of triggered as an episode for us because this weekend at High Point Raceway, or this past weekend, they announced that Hunter Lawrence was signing a 2-year contract extension with the HRC Honda squad. He actually signed it on site, and that now gives him a contract for the 2023 season and the 2024 season, as his current agreement was set to end probably the end of September this year, like most contracts are. They're usually about September 31st, right around October 1st is when they end, typically in this industry at least, for American racing. So Hunter got a 2-year extension. People are instantly asking, well, what does that mean for Jett? What's his contract length? Well, Jett's already signed up through 2025. Honda's been pretty open about that. And that really comes down to the difference in how their deals were even done when they initially came over to HRC Honda. Of course, they both came from the now defunct Factory Connection Racing, also very popularly known as Geico Honda. When it closed up, when that operation had to close up, at the end of the 2020 season, they had a slew of riders. A lot of them had been with Honda for quite a while, but Honda only had so much space in moving into this direct in-house program. They brought over a good chunk of the staff that they felt were needed to carry the program, and they had to pick 2 riders in this situation. There was a little back and forth. We always knew that even as things were kind of starting to go sideways towards the end of that season, not sideways, just it was getting clear that Geico was pulling out and the program wasn't sure at what level they were going to continue. It became very clear, of course, that Jett was their primary focus. He was sort of like the future, they felt like, of the brand and of racing, so it was very vital to get Jett locked down into a long-term deal. And then secondary choice kind of bounced around. We heard Joe Shimoda's name one time. It ended up actually becoming his brother, Hunter Lawrence, but on different agreements. Hunter's was either initially a 1-year deal followed by a 1-year extension, or it was a 2-year deal out of the gate. Jett's, straight off the bat, they hooked him in long-term, again, signed him all the way through 2025. As we saw, he got the Red Bull deal initially. It took another year for Hunter to get his. Hunter, even though, greatly talented, very successful in his own right, he had struggled a little bit more that last year or two since coming over to America with injuries and stuff, so I think there's a little more of a question mark around him. So the commitment maybe wasn't as long to him initially, but it was definitely there to bring them both over. He has performed, of course, quite well. He hasn't picked up a title yet, but has definitely made huge strides in the 2 years he's been directly now with the HRC program, so they've rewarded him with 2 more years. Jett's already locked down long-term, but his future is starting to play out a little bit as where he'll go. He has won a regional supercross title this year, which means he can only defend that title next year in that class, and then he has to go 450 by 2024. So at bare minimum, we would see him on a 450 come A1 of 2024 in January. But we believe that it will likely be earlier than that. As of right now, he is 4 overall wins to start the season in his title defense of the AMA Pro Motocross Championship. And just going off statistics, riders have won 3 or 4 overalls to start the season, like direct straight in a row, have always gone on to win the title. So barring injury, not to say nobody can give him a run, something can't happen, but there's a very strong chance Jett is going to win this title and put himself at 2 championships outdoors. He'll get to defend Supercross next year, and then he has to move up the following year. So we believe they're going to run him in a 450 outdoors next year, similar to what Honda did with Chase Sexton a couple years ago. There's a couple reasons why this makes sense. Number one, the bike generation that Jett is on, if he waits till 2024 to race that bike, if Honda sticks at the same generation run of bike they usually do, which is 4 years, that 2024 season would be the only year he races that 450, and then they'd be on to another new generation bike. By racing it outdoors next year, it gives him that soft entry into the class. It's arguably maybe a little bit safer than trying to race a full season of 450 Supercross right off the bat. It allows him down that bike and get ready for a full year the next year, and then have to transition, again the year after. And again, the argument could always be made for might as well move him to the 450 and get that transition going, because yes, guys like Villapoto, Fioris did win 3 250 or 125 outdoor titles, but you can kind of see what the progress they're making with Jett. Yeah, they could stay down the class if he wins this year and defend another year and go for 3, but that doesn't maybe do that much for the long term of his career. He's already got that big 450 deal locked down with Honda. He's, like I said, kind of the future of the brand, so they might as well move him up. This also plays into sort of leaving the championship, not that Hunter can't beat his brother, he can, but it also leaves in a position where Hunter will have this whole year of experience under his belt as well, running and contending with the title with his brother, could still potentially win it, putting him as a great title contender for the year after and giving Honda a great chance still in that class. It also has to do with Chance Hymas turning pro. Chance will race Loretta's this year and then race the last 3 or 4 nationals after Loretta ends. If he does well enough, he may completely point out of being ever able to go back to amateur racing, which it sounds like the team's goal is in 2023 for Chance to move up to a 250 for outdoors. So if Jett goes 450, that relieves a 250. 250s are harder on budget, parts, etc. It would allow Chance to come up and learn under Hunter. So Chance and Hunter would be on 250s, Chase Sexton and Jett would be on 450s for outdoors next year. But we don't know exactly what's going on another 450 because Ken Roczen's contract is up at the end of this year. So to kind of give you a broad recap, because we're jumping around years here, Hunter Lawrence and Ken Roczen's current agreements were up at the end of this season. Hunter has gone extension through 24, so he's good. He's through 24. Kenny's contract is done at the end of this year, and there hasn't really been a lot of suggestions of what's going to happen there. Jett's is all the way up here at 2025, so he's good. And then Sexton is through 23. So Sexton is signed up for next year. Hunter is, Jett is, and Hymas is. Kenny's the mystery at this point. It'll be really interesting with the current economic scale of things that's going on, possibility of some sort of recession or just the way the economy is slipping at the moment. What will happen to motorcycle sales? We're already hearing brands and OEMs starting to maybe be a little more conservative in their planning for next year. On one hand, you could argue, yeah, Honda's the biggest of the big. They could afford to go with all of them. Or you could argue, again, it's not the same as it was once when they ran a big team. Yeah, back in the day, they ran a 4-man 450 team, but that was because they were bringing 250 guys up, like Andrew Short and Davey Millsaps. That's how they ended up with a 4-man team and then farmed off the 250. Here, they're still going to have a 250 with Hunter and Chance, so it's really hard to see them run 3 450 level guys on top of that are all top quality, championship, race winning, probably not cheap guys amongst Hunter, who has probably got to be getting a pay bump on this contract, and then Chance incoming. That's a big stretch on budget. Even if things were going good, they were trending up. But again, with so many question marks, financial economy heading into next year, you would think the OEM would have to be more conservative. So we wonder would they do something like they did a couple years ago where they find somebody like a JBS to be a Supercross only guy before Jett transfers? Does Chance Hymas potentially turn pro in Supercross? We know that's on the table. Then maybe they run 450 in SX, put all their, all the eggs in the basket with just Chase, and then they go 3 250s with Chance, Hunter, and Jett. Maybe Jett rides all 450 opposite coasts, but these are all scenarios. Again, this is a lot to spread out, but these are all the scenarios in front of the team. And at this point, we don't think any of them are off the table. The biggest things that we would stamp right now, though, is, again, Hunter is good through next year. He will ride a 250. Chance is turning pro at some time next year, at least by outdoors, if not possibly for Supercross. Chase is good, and we really, really believe Jett will ride a 450 come outdoors. It just seems to be everything is aligning that direction for him to make that move. Now, we've seen a few other people question, well, does that mean Hunter's going to move up the year after? Even though Hunter's the older brother, he still hasn't found that title success in the 250 class, and we don't feel like the team's holding him back or in our opinion from talking to him that he feels like that. He's still growing into himself as a person, as a racer, and say Jett does step up. That gives, next year, they will likely be on opposite Supercross coasts. The goal for Hunter will be to win his own regional Supercross championship and then still defend it another year. So go race the next 2 years of his contract, likely on a 250 full time, and then see where it goes from there. If he does win a regional Supercross next year championship, then that means he can only defend it in 2024, and Hunter would then be on a 450 by 2025 at the latest. But if he doesn't win a regional Supercross championship next year and it takes the following year, that means he could defend all the way out in 2025. Again, they have some options with the Lawrence brothers. They are not tied to each other. Even though Hunter has signed this 2-year deal, clearly it's kind of looking like, okay, we're signing him to be a 250 rider for the next 2 years. Jett is planned to be a 450 guy in the long term. Not that Honda isn't planning on Hunter moving to a 450 eventually for him. The Lawrences just have also stated they're not exactly a package deal. If by the end of these 2-year deals, if Honda's just really, set with Jett and Chase still, and they haven't found a new 250 program, it's hard for them budget-wise to run more 450s. Maybe Hunter goes off and does something that works best for him. Maybe we see another OEM make an aggressive move for him. Again, I think it'd be really cool to see these two continue to race together, but there's also that possibility down the road that they do get separated. Unless, again, if after Chase's 2023 year, if he feels like he wants to go somewhere else or gets an offer that makes him want to go elsewhere, then it puts Honda in a position where the Lawrences are their premier 450 guys going forward. Again, a lot to digest. The biggest part of this rumor mill is, we believe, Jett on a 450 outdoors next year. Hymas, either 250 outdoors at the latest, possibly 250 indoors. He had a really good Supercross training season with the team this year. We've heard they're very impressed with him. If he has another good kind of off season, we really wouldn't be surprised if they move him up come Supercross next year. And then the last part of the rumor mill is there's no info. Everybody is questioning what is still going to happen with Ken Roczen at the end of Supercross. I'm sure a lot of people, and even us, we post like, hey, is he maybe going to retire? What's he going to do? It's a giant mystery. Just nobody seems like the situation's gelling. But now clearly it's going a little better. But is it a little too late for Honda to commit to Kenny? Do they already have too much tied in again with Chase and Jett at this point to give Kenny another long-term commitment? Would they maybe only offer him a 1-year deal and then pretty much weigh out Chase and Kenny to be Jett's teammate after that? You never know. And on top of that, what are Ken's other options with having a Red Bull deal through the next year? There's very limited options for him. And the later we get into this outdoor season, again, the less options that will be on the table for Ken Roczen coming into 2023. So, a lot to digest, a lot of jumping around years. We try to fit in as much as we can. If you got any questions, throw it in the comments section below. We'd love to discuss this topic. We think it's pretty interesting, again, because it is a big team full of big names with a lot of expectations, a lot of really well-liked riders here. And it's also really cool talking about this storyline is it looks like HRC Honda's finally coming back. Like the joke, the Carmichael curse. Like, it might actually be over. Chase is, of course, leading the championship and running extremely well at the moment. Kenny's having a solid outdoor. The 250 program with the Lawrences is going great, with Jett soon to be projected to go 450. You'd have to think Honda's finally put all the right pieces of the puzzle together to become the powerhouse that they were in the early 2000s, that they were back mostly in the 80s, where people really picture them of having the best talent in the field, dominating the class, but all the classes, and just having this strength and presence with the most, charismatic riders with the biggest presence. HRC Honda is definitely trending that way, and it's really cool to see at this point. Anyways, like, subscribe. Thank you guys very much for watching, and catch us for some more videos.